This is Leo Cloutier with Malice to an End. We're here at St. Petersburg, Florida, the home base of the St. Louis Cardinals and also the New York Mets. But today it's at the New York Mets training camp. It's indeed a pleasure to have as our guest one of the leading sports writers in the country from the New York Daily News. I'd like to welcome to our show Red Foley. Welcome, Red.
Thank you very much, Leo.
Well, Red, it certainly is a pleasure to have you as our guest here today. Red, how long have you been in the newspaper business?
Actually, 24 years.
You look like a young cub of about 25 and 26.
No, I'm afraid not.
Red, you've been president of the New York chapter of the Baseball Writers Association for some time, or you were on occasions?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Up the last 2 years, Maury Allen of the Post is now the new president, because new chairman rather, because terms are 2 years.
And Red, your travels as a newspaperman have taken you all over the country, no doubt.
Yes, between hockey and baseball, I've probably made most of the places.
And Red, which sport of the two do you like the best?
Well, I suppose I'd have to say baseball, because it's a day in, day out thing for 6 months. Hockey is a 6-month season, of course, but you play like Sunday, Wednesday. There's too many days off in between for my benefit. I prefer an everyday assignment like baseball.
Red, in your 24-year career as a newspaperman, you've covered, as you say, both hockey and baseball extensively. Have you derived the same thrills out of covering hockey as you have in baseball?
Yeah, it's a different type of thing. Your action in hockey is it's more concentrated. It's a physical game. Now, for instance, I like to watch the Bruins play hockey because, to my way, they play it the way it should be played. It's a physical team, and baseball is a great game. But I admit there are times where what people call dull spots in it. Now, hockey, you don't have that. You've got concentrated action for almost 60 minutes. There's very little lulls in hockey. But just watching great players in both games, that compensates for it all.
What is probably the greatest thrill you've ever derived in the field of reporting?
Oh, boy. I hadn't even thought of that one, Leo. You know, there's so many of them you see. Well, the Mets, for instance, 2 years ago, it wasn't a particular thing. It wasn't, say, for instance, the night they got the double play that won the National League, got into the Eastern Division playoff. That last 6 weeks of that season, every day it was something new. It was an enduring thing. It wasn't a one-shot thing, you know. You could see it building up, and yet you didn't believe it. They started to come in July, and you just figured, well, you know, I got to see it again. They got to do it. You know, as Charlie Dressen used to say, I'd like to see them do it again, you know.
That's right.
And but every day, something new. It was a new hero every day. Even if they happen to make a mistake, it's sort of turned to their favor. It was a fantastic thing.
Red, in the World Series of 1969, after the fifth game of that particular series, then you were convinced that the Mets certainly had it.
They had it for that season, that's for sure. Myself, I thought that Baltimore was a team that should have been a team that could have beaten them. They were a better team. But that doesn't make any difference. When you got it going for you, you know, as somebody says, as they say, if somebody up there likes you, that's all you need.
And that was certainly the case that year, wasn't it?
I think it was. That's not putting the Mets down, believe me. This is a good team. It's a competitive team. But last year is a perfect example. They did not get the same little breaks that they'd gotten in '69. Those little breaks you have to get. Similar to the Red Sox in '67. They also came from nowhere. And now you saw the Sox more than I did, but there had to be days when little things happened.
Oh, yes,
that,
no doubt about it.
That turned a game around.
We had to wait an awful long while to clinch that pennant. You didn't have to wait that long.
No, this team, it came from behind and just kept on climbing. It wasn't you know, sometimes it takes you 2 weeks near the end to get it. You're
That's
so
right.
close to it, but this team started to win and just kept pulling away. If they'd played another month, they'd have probably been in front by 20 games.
There's no doubt about that. Red, in hockey, what is probably the greatest thrill you ever derived?
Well, again, there's been so many good players, you know, the Bobby Hulls and the Gordie Howes. But I'll tell you one thing, and I don't say it because you're a New Englander, but watching Bobby Orr play hockey is something else. You know, he's got to be the greatest. I used to say he was the greatest young hockey player I ever saw. Now I'm beginning to think he might be the greatest hockey player I ever saw. This kid can do it all. And just watching him, even though he murders the Rangers, you know, you have to appreciate a hockey player like this kid.
You know, Bobby, Red, you watch Bobby in action, and there's always something new with which he comes up.
That's right. Some fellas have, as they say, they have one move or one shift. You know, a guy is going to go down the boards, and he's always going to go in or he's going to go out to make his move. This kid does 43 different things in one night and never seems to do the same thing twice.
Red, would you say that this kid has already reached his top potential or level, so to speak?
You would almost think so watching him, because you say, how much better can he get? But every time you see him, he seems to do something he didn't do before. I'd say no, he hasn't reached his peak. And then you wonder, well, what could his peak be?
That's so true. Yeah. And you know, Red, speaking of the Boston Bruins, everybody seems to be having that big year. Even Johnny Busick at 35 has already scored more than 40 goals. And, of course, Phil Esposito is on his way to another all-time record in not only scoring goals, but also total points.
Well, this, as I say, is a great hockey team and may become one of the best. Now, you talk about Johnny Busick. Johnny Busick was up in Boston when the Bruins and Rangers used to fight for the cellar, if you could call it a fight. Johnny Busick is a great hockey player and always has been. I don't think he was appreciated in the losing years as much as he is now, although I know hockey people that I'd spoken to would tell you that the best player on the Bruins at that time was Johnny Busick.
And he's been around for quite some time.
Yes, he has.
Red, one of the greatest rivalries in hockey today, there's no doubt, I think, from a New England standpoint, is certainly that between the Rangers and the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, as I remember, in the late 30s, early 40s, it was the Rangers and Bruins were 1-2, either for the Cup or for the regular season. And then both teams went into a decline after the war, and as I say, then they were fighting for 5th and 6th, which is what you had at that time. And now in the last 4 or 5 years, that Boston-New York rivalry is built up, and I think it's great. It fills both arenas, and it really has people talking.
It certainly has. Red, I think this is a very opportune time to be talking about hockey, especially in the hot sun of St. Petersburg in Florida here today. And I do want to thank you very much for being our special guest, and I want to wish you and your splendid career, another 24 years, and many, many more after that.
Thank you very much, Leo.
Thank you, Red. This was an interview with Red Foley, one of the leading sports writers in the country today, the New York Daily News. And this brings us to the end of With Malice to an End from St. Petersburg, Florida, the home base of the New York Mets. Leo Cloutier, good day. Thank you very much, Red.
Brought to you by PosterFix. At PosterFix, we bring your vintage posters back to life. To learn more about Leo Cloutier's sports world, visit leocloutier.com.